My son died at 8:17 p.m. But the strangest part? He called my phone 2 minutes later. If stories about truth, betrayal, and quiet revenge fascinate you, subscribe now. Because some secrets are buried so deep, they only surface when someone refuses to stop digging. And before this story ends, answer me this in the comments. If you discovered your own family was hiding the truth about your child's death, would you expose them, or destroy them quietly? My name is Daniel Carter. 3 weeks ago, I buried my 14-year-old son, Ethan. The police called it an accident. A tragic fall from the old bridge outside town. They said he slipped while riding his bike. Case closed. But fathers know things. Small things. The kind of details the world ignores. Ethan hated that bridge. He wouldn't even ride near it. And yet, somehow, that's where they found him. My wife Laura cried at the funeral. My brother Michael stood beside me like a pillar of support. Everyone said the same thing. Stay strong, Daniel. But strength wasn't the problem. The problem was the silence. Because 2 nights after the funeral, something strange happened. I sat alone in Ethan's room. His desk lamp flickered softly. His laptop sat closed. Untouched since the night he died. Then my phone vibrated. A voicemail. From Ethan's number. My heart stopped. His voice whispered through the speaker. Dad, if you're hearing this, don't trust them. Static followed. Then the recording cut. Just 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds shattered my world. Because Ethan sounded terrified. And in the background, I heard a door slam. Not a bridge. A door. That was the moment I realized something horrifying. My son didn't fall. He was running. And someone in this town was chasing him. I replayed Ethan's voicemail 50 times that night. Each time, the same whisper. Don't trust them. But who was them? His friends? The police? My family? The thought felt insane. But grief makes your mind sharper in strange ways. I started listening to the background. Carefully. Breathing slowly. And then I heard it. A faint sound beneath the static. A bell. Soft. Metallic. My stomach twisted. Because I knew that sound. It came from St. Augustine Academy. Ethan's school. They had an old brass hallway bell that rang every evening during after-school study sessions. But Ethan wasn't supposed to be there that night. The school closed at 5. He died at 8:17. So why would the bell be ringing? The next morning I drove to the academy. The security guard recognized me. His smile was thin. Sympathetic. Daniel. I'm sorry for your loss. I nodded quietly. Did Ethan stay late here the night he died? The guard frowned. No. School was closed. Something in his voice felt rehearsed. Too smooth. Too quick. I walked through the empty hallways anyway. Photographs of smiling students covered the walls. Achievement awards. Honor boards. Perfect lives. Perfect lies. Then I saw it. A small door near the gymnasium. Half hidden behind a trophy case. The bell rang again. Soft. Faint. But this time, I heard it clearly. And suddenly Ethan's voicemail made sense. He wasn't near the bridge. He was inside this building. Running through these halls. Terrified. I stepped closer to the hidden door. Locked. But scratched. As if someone had tried to escape through it. Then my phone buzzed again. A text message. Unknown number. 3 words. Stop looking, Daniel. I stared at the screen. Cold silence filled the hallway. Because only one person knew I was here. My brother. Michael. And suddenly, my grief began turning into something else. Michael arrived 5 minutes later. Too fast. Too calm. Too prepared. He walked toward me in the empty hallway, hands in his pockets. Daniel, he sighed softly. You shouldn't be here. I studied his face. My older brother. The man who helped organize Ethan's funeral. The man who hugged me while I cried. Did you text me? I asked. Michael shook his head. No. But he didn't look surprised. That bothered me. I pointed at the hidden door. Why is this locked? Michael glanced at it. Just for a second. Then he shrugged. Storage room. Something about his tone felt distant. Professional. Like a lawyer choosing careful words. You've been acting strange since Ethan died, he continued gently. Maybe you should take a break from this. Take a break. The phrase echoed in my head. Because Michael worked for the city council. And the academy board. He had connections everywhere. Including the police. I took out my phone. Played Ethan's voicemail. Michael listened quietly. His jaw tightened for a moment. Then he forced a sad smile. Daniel, grief makes us hear things. That was when I noticed it. A tiny detail. His wristwatch. The metal strap had a small bell charm attached. Exactly like the sound in Ethan's recording. My pulse slowed. Not faster. Slower. Because anger is loud. But revenge. Revenge is quiet. I turned off the recording. You're right, I said softly. Michael relaxed. A little too quickly. Let's go home, he suggested. Laura's worried about you. Laura. My wife. Ethan's mother. Another person who kept telling me to stop asking questions. As we walked toward the exit, I noticed something else. A security camera above the hallway. Pointed directly at the hidden door. But unplugged. The wire hung loose. Like someone didn't want anyone seeing what happened there. And suddenly one terrifying possibility entered my mind. What if Ethan didn't discover strangers? What if he discovered people he trusted? That night I opened Ethan's laptop. The password took 3 tries. His birthday. My birthday. Then finally. Explorer. His favorite word. The screen lit up. Folders. Homework. Photos. Normal things. But one file stood out. Encrypted. Labeled only with one letter. G. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were dozens of videos. Hidden recordings. Hallways. Basements. Parking lots. Each clip filmed secretly on Ethan's phone. My son had been spying on someone. Then I opened the last video. The date stopped my breath. The night before he died. The camera shook as Ethan whispered. I think they're taking kids. My chest tightened. The footage showed the hidden door at St. Augustine Academy. 2 men standing beside it. One of them opened the door. Inside, a staircase leading underground. Then another figure stepped into the light. My brother. Michael. Talking quietly to the men. Ethan zoomed closer. Trying to hear them. That's when Michael said something that froze my blood. The parents never notice. One of the men laughed. What about the last boy? Michael shrugged. His father drinks too much. He won't ask questions. My vision blurred. Because they were talking about someone. Another child. Then Ethan accidentally kicked something. The camera jolted. Michael turned. Straight toward the lens. His expression changed instantly. Cold. Alert. Someone's here, he said. The video ended abruptly. I stared at the screen. My son had discovered something monstrous. And the last person he saw was my own brother. That's when the truth finally settled into my bones. Ethan didn't fall from a bridge. He ran from something underground. Something hidden beneath his school. Something Michael helped protect. And suddenly I understood Ethan's warning. Don't trust them. But he hadn't said him. He said them. Meaning my brother wasn't alone. Not even close. The next evening I returned to St. Augustine Academy. But this time I wasn't grieving. I was hunting. Rain soaked the empty parking lot. The school lights were off. Except one. Near the gymnasium. Exactly where the hidden door waited. I moved quietly along the side wall. Heart steady. Breathing controlled. Ethan's video played over and over in my mind. Kids disappearing. Parents never noticing. How many? 10. 20. The thought made my stomach twist. The door was still locked. But old locks have weaknesses. 5 minutes later. It opened. The staircase below smelled damp. Concrete walls. Faint humming sounds. And something worse. Voices. I stepped down slowly. Every step echoed softly. Then the hallway appeared. Fluorescent lights flickering overhead. Doors on both sides. Metal. Numbered. Like storage units. Or prison cells. One door was slightly open. I pushed it wider. Inside sat 3 chairs. And a small camera on a tripod. Pointed directly at them. My chest tightened. This wasn't a basement. It was a recording room. Suddenly footsteps echoed behind me. I turned. A man in a security uniform froze in the doorway. His eyes widened. Who the hell? I closed the door quietly behind him. 10 minutes later he was tied to the chair. Terrified. Sweating. I just work here, he whispered. For who? He hesitated. I leaned closer. Slowly. Calmly. Listen carefully, I said. My son died because of this place. His face went pale. What son? Ethan Carter. The name hit him instantly. Recognition flashed in his eyes. And that's when I knew. He remembered. Which meant Ethan had been here. Right here. The guard swallowed hard. You shouldn't be asking about that boy. Why? His voice dropped to a whisper. Because the people behind this. He glanced toward the ceiling. Own this town. Then he said a name that made my blood run cold. The Foundation. And suddenly the story became much bigger than revenge. Much bigger than my brother. The guard talked for 20 minutes. Then he begged me to leave. But by then, I already knew too much. The Foundation wasn't a charity. It was a private network. Rich donors. Powerful officials. Men who believed certain children were special. Gifted. Promising. Valuable. They called it the selection. Every year a handful of students were secretly chosen. Taken through the underground hallways. Recorded. Tested. Observed. The guard never knew what happened after that. He only handled security. But one thing was clear. Children sometimes disappeared afterward. Transferred to special programs. Or so the paperwork said. I leaned closer. Who organizes it? The guard hesitated. Then whispered one name. Michael. My brother wasn't just involved. He was the coordinator. The man who chose the kids. The man who made sure parents stayed quiet. The man who ensured no one ever looked too closely. Except Ethan did. And Ethan recorded everything. Which meant my son became a problem. A witness. A risk. Suddenly the guard added something else. Something that twisted the knife deeper. Your brother didn't want the boy hurt. My breath slowed. What? He said Ethan was family. Family. The word echoed bitterly. But the foundation voted, the guard continued. They said witnesses can't exist. Silence filled the room. The guard's voice trembled. After that, Michael looked different. Different. Not guilty. Not horrified. Just, different. Like a man who crossed a line and couldn't walk back. I untied him. Slowly. Leave town, I told him. Tonight. He didn't argue. As he ran upstairs, I stared at the empty chairs. 3 chairs. 3 cameras. 3 children at a time. Then I realized something chilling. Ethan's file had dozens of videos. Meaning he had been watching this operation for weeks. Maybe months. Which meant my son had been planning something too. Something dangerous. Something brave. And maybe something he left behind for me to finish. I went home and watched the rest of Ethan's files. Every video. Every whisper. Every shaky recording. And slowly, my son's secret plan revealed itself. Ethan wasn't just spying. He was building evidence. Names. Dates. Faces. Donors. Teachers. Council members. Dozens of powerful people visiting the underground rooms. But the final file was different. It wasn't footage. It was a message. Recorded for me. Ethan sat at his desk. Eyes tired. Voice quiet. Dad. If you're watching this, it means they caught me. My chest tightened instantly. I know Uncle Michael is part of it, he continued. But he's not the boss. He leaned closer to the camera. There's someone above him. A pause. Then Ethan whispered the name. Laura. My wife. His mother. The room around me felt suddenly smaller. Ethan continued speaking. She runs the foundation accounts. My heart pounded slowly. Not fast. Slow. Heavy. She told Uncle Michael the selection must continue. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. She said it was bigger than families. I stopped breathing. My wife. The woman who cried beside me at Ethan's funeral. The woman who begged me to stop asking questions. The woman who kissed my forehead every night since he died. The video ended with one final sentence. If something happens to me, don't fight them, Dad. A long pause. Then Ethan smiled sadly. Outsmart them. The screen went dark. And in that moment I understood everything. Michael organized the selection. But Laura controlled the money. Which meant the foundation trusted her more than anyone. And suddenly my revenge plan became very simple. Because the strongest weapon against a secret organization isn't anger. It's exposure. But exposure requires patience. And patience requires silence. So that night, I hugged my wife. And told her I was finally ready to let Ethan. For the next 2 weeks, I acted broken. Grief-stricken. Defeated. Exactly the way they expected. Laura watched me carefully. Michael visited often. They whispered in the kitchen when they thought I couldn't hear. Is he still digging? Michael asked one night. Laura shook her head. No. He's finally accepted it. Accepted it. Those words almost made me smile. Meanwhile, I followed Ethan's instructions. Quietly. Carefully. I copied every video file. Every donor name. Every underground recording. Then I sent them to 3 places. A national journalist. A federal investigator. And a cloud server with an automatic release timer. If anything happened to me, everything would go public. But revenge isn't just about truth. It's about timing. The Foundation's biggest annual meeting was approaching. A private gathering of donors. Council members. Investors. All meeting in one place. St. Augustine Academy. Underground. Exactly where Ethan had recorded them. Laura believed I was too broken to attend. But she underestimated something important. A father who has nothing left to lose is impossible to control. The night of the meeting, I walked quietly into the basement. Voices echoed through the corridor. Powerful voices. Confident voices. People who believed they were untouchable. Michael stood at the front of the room. Presenting statistics. Success rates. Future selections. Laura sat beside him. Calm. Composed. Proud. That's when I stepped into the light. The room fell silent instantly. My brother's face drained of color. Laura stood slowly. Daniel, what are you doing here? I looked around the room. At every face Ethan had captured. Then I smiled softly. I came to finish my son's work. At first, they laughed. Not loudly. Just politely. Like powerful people do when someone inconvenient appears. Michael approached slowly. Daniel, you shouldn't be here. I held up Ethan's phone. His smile faded. Everything your foundation does, I said calmly, has been recorded. The room grew very quiet. Laura stepped forward. You're grieving, she said gently. Her voice was flawless. Convincing. But she forgot something important. I had already heard her true voice. In Ethan's video. The files are already sent, I continued. To journalists. Investigators. Michael's jaw tightened. You're bluffing. I shook my head. Actually, the first article publishes in 20 minutes. That's when panic started spreading. Phones appeared. Whispers filled the room. Laura stared at me. Cold now. No more pretending. You're destroying everything, she whispered. I looked directly into her eyes. No, I said quietly. Ethan did. Michael suddenly lunged for the phone. But security alarms exploded overhead. Red lights flashed. Sirens screamed. Police. Federal agents. They poured into the hallway seconds later. Someone in the room had already checked the news. The headline spread like wildfire. Secret child selection program exposed. Officers began separating people. Cameras. Questions. Chaos. Michael stared at me with disbelief. You ruined us, he whispered. I leaned closer. No, I said again. You ruined yourselves the moment you chose my son. Laura didn't speak. She simply watched as agents placed handcuffs around her wrists. Her expression wasn't fear. It was anger. Because for the first time in years, she had lost control. And as the foundation collapsed around her, I realized something strange. I didn't feel rage. I felt peace. 6 months later, the trials began. The foundation collapsed completely. Politicians resigned. Donors vanished. Schools shut down. Michael accepted a plea deal. Laura refused. She fought every charge. But evidence is stubborn. Especially when a 14-year-old boy recorded everything. The courtroom was silent when the verdict came. Guilty. On every count. Laura turned toward me as officers led her away. Her eyes burned with hatred. But she said nothing. Because words were useless now. Truth had already spoken. After the trial, reporters surrounded me outside. They asked the same question over and over. Why didn't you seek revenge earlier? I thought about Ethan. His quiet courage. His careful planning. His final message. Outsmart them. So I gave the reporters a simple answer. My son already started the fight. Weeks later I returned to Ethan's room. His desk was exactly the same. Explorer password still active. I opened his final video again. Just to hear his voice. Just once more. Don't fight them, Dad, Ethan whispered through the screen. Outsmart them. I smiled softly. Because he was right. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's patient. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it lets the truth destroy everything on its own. I closed the laptop slowly. The house felt quiet now. Peaceful. But before turning off the light, I whispered something into the empty room. Not to Laura. Not to Michael. Not even to the foundation. Just to my son. Mission complete, Ethan. Then I walked away. Because the most powerful revenge in the world is making monsters disappear into silence.